Showtime.
Bro, Chris Paul has better handles than AI.
Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Special edition Young Bulls podcast episode, man. We're here. Got my special guest, man, OKC superfan, my boy Aiden in the building. Welcome back to the show, man.
So happy to be here. I'm happy. Great spirits this morning. My Thunder back in the finals.
We're going to
Life
touch
is
on
good. Life is great.
That's what's up. We're going to touch on that in a second, but before we even go any further, episode again sponsored by Legacy Jersey Shop. One-stop shop for everything soccer jersey related. If you want a nice, authentic, cheap soccer jersey, make sure you guys go to Legacy Jersey Shop. Also, episode is sponsored by YBPod.com. Everything Young Bulls podcast all in one place. If you want to look at old episodes, go there. You want to get some merch, go there. Make sure you guys go check out YBPod.com. But the steak and potatoes, man. The Oklahoma City Thunder, for the first time since I was in elementary school, is heading to the NBA Finals. Aiden, tell me how you're feeling, man, because I can only imagine how you're feeling right now, man.
It's a weird, like a very good, weird feeling. It's one of those things, like, I mean, I've been watching them for so long. Like, I'm one of those fans where, like, I watch every game. I watch every press conference. I follow every, like, beat reporter that covers the team, like, Summer League, like, preseason, all that sort of stuff. Like, diehard like that for the past 8 years or so. So I've seen bottom of the barrel with this team. So I know how it is for some of the guys on the team to, like, understand how this, like, moment really is. Like, I'm satisfied. I'm like 7 out of 10 satisfied. I want 4 more, and then I'll be cloud 9. But, you know, I got to enjoy how this feels for the next few days or so before the anxiety of the next series kicks in. But it's kind of like, it hasn't fully kicked in yet that, like, this team is in the finals and they're this close to doing, like, that end goal. So it's a good feeling, a surreal feeling kind of, but I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Yeah. This is what you want. Like, you want to be able to celebrate it, but you don't want to go too crazy before, like, you don't want anything bad to happen, obviously.
For sure.
In the finals, but.
And especially, too, just like, you know, just touching on what you said about, like, the journey, like, the bottom of the barrel. Like, I remember after post-Westbrook, post-KD, like, the Thunder were a tough watch. Like, they were a tough watch.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, there were games. It was funny. This morning, I was scrolling on Twitter, and Isaiah Roby, one of my boys, former center for the Thunder, he tweeted out something like, "Oh yeah, congratulations to the Thunder. I've seen that organization grow from, like, me being a part of it, whatnot." But then he was like, "Can we stop putting that 2022 ending lineup, like, all over Twitter? The one where it's like Isaiah Roby, Jalen Horde, Kawazakis, Xavier Simpson, and Vit Krejci." I'm like, that team's bad.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think that was 3 years ago. Like, no,
seriously,
it's wild.
I remember when the biggest thing that the Thunder had at one point in time was Poku.
Pokuchevsky. Poku, and he was like, that was 2 years ago, which is wild.
It's wild, man. It's wild because, I mean, you know, just talking about the Thunder and everything like that, like, going from like Kevin Durant and Harden to Westbrook to, you know, players such as CP3 and everything like that making appearances for the team, and now having a bona fide face of the league and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you know, carrying on the work and the legacy that they had and leading the Thunder back to the finals, which has not been said since I was in elementary school. Like, it's wild to even just think about that. So, yeah, it's a testament to the team. It's a testament to the organization. Shout out to Sam Presti, seriously, because Sam Presti literally could be the GM of the decade, because this guy literally went through a lot of losing and getting a lot of draft picks to even put the Thunder in a situation where here in 2025 they're competing for a championship with 4 more wins to go. So it's mad impressive.
I think what's so impressive about it is not only has he continued what he's been building, like, it takes a lot for a team to compete at the highest level. And in 2016, they were at that highest level and up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals, Then they made those moves to get a Paul George, and they tried that, but that didn't work out too well
Right.
in the playoffs. Losing the rookie Donovan Mitchell, whatnot. Then you're like, all right, Paul George, Westbrook, you're up and out of here. It takes a lot to go from bottom of the barrel, like we just discussed, to stick to the game plan and to convince guys like Shea, like Lou Dort, to stick around, to convince Mark Daigneault that, all right, this is your job. We're going to build this team back up. And Sam Presti was playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers.
No, seriously.
And it's crazy to see that he's continuing to do this.
Yeah.
And not only is this team at where they're at right now from just draft, like, smart basketball GM moves. Like, they didn't just go out and, all right, Kevin Durant, come on in. Like, they made small little moves over the course of 5 years or so, really, that now everyone just glues together and they know how to just continue to take that one extra step towards raising their floor and raising their ceiling at the same time.
And most importantly, on top of that too, like, again, like, I know I touched on this so much already about it being a tough watch, but the Thunder, many people, including myself, before the series even started, I did not expect the Thunder to even win the series. I expected Ant to have a redemption series. I expected him to go out, swinging, at least this series going 7. I expected this series and the Pacers series to go 7. No one expected the Thunder to do what they did last night. But when I was checking the score, and it was like 26-9 at the end of the first, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? And then it was 22-50. I'm like, whoa, like, this is horrendous. This is bad. So again, credit to you guys, because most teams, like, when they have that big lead, especially, with the Thunder before having experience being up 3-1 and seeing what happened with that, being able to close it out last night and, take advantage where the Timberwolves were messing up and everything like that. And we're going to touch on the Timberwolves for a second. We're going to touch on them in a second. But first off, I just want to give a huge shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, man. Obviously,
MVP.
Obviously, MVP for sure. But this whole postseason, he has probably been, I won't say the best, because Halliburton, for me, has just been on a whole nother level. But Shai has literally been the best player outside of Halliburton in this whole playoff, man. Every game he has showed up. I don't remember them being in one game where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was not showing up and doing his job and helping the team, win.
They had that one random Minnesota blowout game. But even watching that, to me, that just felt like they hit their first shot, then they hit their second.
Yeah.
And they just kept going, and OKC just felt slow and behind. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, you're down 3, or you're still up 2-1 in the series. You win the next game, you could close it out. Like, well, not that game felt very fluky to me.
Yeah.
And obviously, it didn't seem to have much of an impact on this series.
Right.
But no, SGA has just been ridiculous. It's unreal how insane his scoring ability is, and it's nothing new to me. But just really being able to see him do this consistently every single night and continue to hit these ridiculous shots and get to his spot, make his move on a defender, it's unreal to me. And not just his scoring has been unreal, his playmaking this series, I think, has been top notch. I mean, last game, in game 3, or in game 4, he finished with 10 assists. Last night, he finished with 8 assists.
Right.
His playmaking has been unreal, and that's one of the main reasons also this team is succeeding, because his driving kick ability is top-notch, to where the defense is going to have to respect his shot, obviously, and then once he gets too deep into the paint, they got to crowd it, and then he can find the open Cason Wallace or Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort, whoever it may be. So he's been the definition of what an MVP has been doing for this team.
Right.
I got to give him so much praise, and being able to be level-headed and not be super jubilant about the win and not just take everything lightly, I guess.
Right.
He knows that there's an end goal in winning a championship. And I think that has been in his mind even since winning the MVP about a week ago. He knows that, like, he wants to win it all.
For sure. It's for sure. And I'm just going to put some numbers out there just, because you've been saying he's obviously been having an MVP type postseason. But Shea's averaging almost 30 points a game, assist to turnover ratio 3.1. He's had average, about 6 rebounds, 7 assists. He's averaged a steal in every game that he's played in. And, probably, he has the most minutes on the team and everything like that, So he's really been doing his thing. He leading the team in points and assists. And, again, it's just been an all-around effort for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this whole postseason. And then, not even just Shai, but the one thing about this Thunder team that I feel like that was so underrated that really, I feel like took them over the top as well in comparison to last year and everything was the additions of Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I'm a Sixers fan, so I remember last year what Hartenstein was doing against Embiid in the playoffs last year. But Hartenstein has arguably been one of, if not the most important players on that Thunder team. That's not Jalen Williams, that's not Chet, that's not Lou Dort, that's not Caruso. Because Hartenstein literally has been doing his job. And his job is just to get rebounds and just easy buckets, man.
Shot at the
literally the little touch shot.
Isaiah Hartenstein, even in this past series, there hasn't been minutes where he's needed to play at 30 plus, but when he has been needed for those 5-minute stretches, he's been great. Like if he can shoot 60% from the field, have good hands at the rim and just grab rebounds, or have one of those tip out kick to an offensive second offensive chance. I mean, Hartenstein's been everything we needed, and his playmaking as well has been great. Finding guys cutting back door. Like I've absolutely loved every cent that we've spent on Hartenstein.
Right. He's been a huge asset to you guys. And then again, like I talked on Hartenstein, but Caruso too. Caruso, like
unreal.
Amazing pickup by the Thunder. I said at the beginning of the playoffs that the Thunder, I felt like, were one more big player away from them actually competing for a championship. Mm-hmm. I did not expect them to get past Denver. They proved me wrong. I did not expect them to get past Oklahoma City. They proved me wrong. At this point, I feel like it's no choice but for you guys to go win the championship at this point.
Caruso's impact has been unreal because he's a guy that's not starting in this lineup, but he's anchoring the defense. Like, that's crazy to say because his impact's been unreal between in that first round series, guys like Jaren Jackson, John Morant, he's picking up on.
Right.
And he's been unreal in that. He literally, from the start of the playoffs, he's just impacted this game at another level. Second round, locking up and holding Nikola Jokic to non-Nikola Jokic impact numbers. Right. And then now just being able to get in the passing lane, switching on to Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and then just complete domination, getting in the passing lanes, just playing physical. And half of the numbers that you'll see, and this has always been in Alex Caruso and just defensive players, I guess, negative part is that you don't see some of the impacts that these defenders have when just looking at the stat sheet, or if you're watching a game where they show the highlights on YouTube where they cut out little things. And like Alex Caruso to me has been the most impactful, and he wouldn't win the MVP award of the playoffs, but without an Alex Caruso, we not be where we are right now. So right. I got to give so many props to Mr. Bald Eagle himself, Alex Caruso.
For sure.
And for not giving up a first-round pick for him, a Giddey for him swap. Now, I was a fan of Giddey, but I think most Thunder fans realized that there was a certain ceiling with him on this team.
Yeah.
And if they had Giddey on this team right now, I think they'd be in a very similar predicament to last year where they're fighting for, like, do we play him? What do we do? Like, so
because I don't even remember like last year in the playoffs. Like, how was that with getting stuff in rotation? Was it just like a plug and play, or was it like?
Well, he started every game, and then it was him or Cason Wallace, the rookie, or
Gotcha.
Isaiah Joe? Like, who do we put in there when he's not in? Because teams were just daring him to shoot, and he would
Right.
always be open. And there were some games where he would shoot 3 of 9 from 3, and other games where he was like 1 of 6. But that it just messed up the flow of the game for them. And he was a liability on defense. And they felt like they were one like click off.
Mm.
And at the same time, it's like you've started this guy for the past 3 seasons. This is your first playoff berth. Like,
Right.
how do we suddenly now take
Get him ready for
our
it.
starting guard out of the lineup when we just won 50 whatever it was 56 games, or what are the number 1 team seed in basketball? How do we just take this guy out of the lineup?
Right.
But I think it's a win-win trade really for both teams. I mean, Chicago's going young. I would have liked from their perspective to get a little bit more draft capital. But you get a young guy, you get a guy who's been pretty solid in Chicago this season.
Mhm.
He's going to get paid, and then OKC obviously gets their guy in Alex Caruso. So, hey, man.
Yeah. Also, too, like another thing before we go to the Timberwolves and just looking on the series from the Timberwolves side of things, the one thing that I want to leave as far as with the Thunder with that I'm looking at the box score right now that I'm finding to be really interesting. Everybody that was in the starting lineups finished with a plus, like plus minus. Yeah. Everybody in the starting lineup finished with a plus. Chet with the plus 21, Jalen Williams plus 25, Hartenstein plus 11, SGA plus 23, Lou Dort plus 24. Like, when everybody was on the court, they were all contributing, and there was no drop-off with production. Even when the bench was in, it was still the same thing. We talked about Caruso's impact. He had 8 off the bench yesterday. Isaiah Joe, 11 off the bench. Ousmane Dieng had 3 points. He had, shout out to him.
Man at that end and knocked down his 3 ball.
But, this team is really deep. And the one thing that I really love about this Thunder team as well is just the whole family dynamic. It feels like you're watching a team that is in the AAU circuit. Like, that's like the best way to describe the Thunder. It's literally a young AAU team that, gets up every mornings, 8 a.m. to go play in a tournament. They have fun, they joke around, but they take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
Many people said that the experience of this Thunder team, how old this Thunder team was going to be the reason on why they don't make it far in this year's playoffs. But if anything, it's proven to show that the youth and everything like that is allowing for them to run and do certain things that older teams are not going to be able to do or keep up with. I mean, I thought that when I say that, I seriously thought that the Nuggets are going to take care of business against OKC.
I think you look at it, especially like when you go back to last series against Denver, you're looking at kind of the clash of 2 completely different teams. You're looking at the veteran-led team with Nikola Jokic, who's the best player in basketball, with Jamal Murray, who's a playoff riser, Aaron Gordon, who's been unbelievable.
Yeah, out of this world.
He's been out of this world. And then Porter Jr., who you still have to respect, even though he was going through that shoulder injury, like, that's what it was. Like, you have a veteran-led team against a bunch of young guys, and they gave OKC their biggest challenge. I mean, losing in a heartbreak game 1 and then eventually bouncing back, but you're down 2-1 in a series. And then you're like, oh, no. Like, you have your biggest game of the season coming up in game 4. You handle business. You take care of business as well in game 5. And then Denver outplayed them. And then you're in a game 7 where, like, that's where everything comes down to. And in the back of my mind, like, you're looking across the conference into the East, and you're like, Boston's eliminated. Cleveland's eliminated. You're like, this is your best chance to do it. It's wide open. They would kick themselves if they weren't able to just make it there. Like, there's such a good opportunity for them to do so. And they did just that. And touching on the bench depth, that's really been what's helped them this series, because they've been able to, like, when Shea was in foul trouble in that game 4 or in that game 3, where he picked up 4 fouls in that first half, that was crucial for them, because they were up 13 at one point, and then they ultimately were tied at the half until Lou Dort hit that corner 3. That was 2 weeks ago, whatnot. But like this bench has been able to come in and just continue to keep their foot on the gas. Between Case and Wallace and Caruso defensively, there's been times where Kenrich Williams has came in this series, knocked down a couple shots, guarded on to Julius Randle, and like it takes every single person to be connected and to stay ready.
Seriously,
because you never know. Like when Kenrich Williams came into this series for the first time, I was like, why is he coming in? Like, but that's like an instance of you gotta stay ready because he came in and he played impactful basketball for 6 minutes and just kept the team afloat to win the basketball game, which is.
I vividly remember Aaron Wiggins, if I'm not mistaken, it was either game 1 or game 2 in the first round against Memphis. He had 21 points off the bench.
He was Aaron Wiggins. He's the savior of basketball, ladies and gentlemen.
Savior of basketball.
But like this bench unit is unbelievable.
Like
and you can rely on them as well.
That's what I think is so scary about this team is the fact that literally Shea, obviously that's a problem on its own, but literally outside of Shea, anybody in this starting five, anybody in the starting, starter or bench rotation could give you 20 every night.
Yeah.
Like, Shea could have an off game, but then Case and Wallace could have 20-point game off the bench, or Aaron Wiggins can have 20 points off the bench, or Chet could decide to go off for 40 that night. There's so many different ways that this Thunder team can kill you. And I feel like in this series, it continues to show that. Like, this series was like a clear indicator that maybe, just maybe, the Thunder have arrived. And not only have they arrived, but the way that they're set up now, they're going to be doing a whole lot of winning in the future. Because
absolutely,
the way I see it, this year was their year to like break the mold a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But especially with where they're at in the draft, especially looking at where they're at in the draft this summer, especially looking at the continued development of talent and the fact that they just continue to get better as years go. Mind you, this is a young team. Like,
this is the worst they're going to be.
Literally, which
is crazy to think about.
Literally, this may be the worst that this Thunder team is going to be. I would not be surprised if the Thunder are back in the same situation next year or in a year after. Like, this Thunder's team is built to win, and this team can be built to win for a long time.
And we still have
go ahead.
A top prospect in Nikola Topic, who hasn't even played this season. He was a top 3 projected pick last year, who got hurt and fell to OKC at 12. So he's been rehabbing behind the scenes when no one's paying attention. So there's their European guard coming in to make off the bench next year for us.
Ooh, that's gonna be that's gonna be actually bad, man. That's actually gonna be bad. But again, shout out to Oklahoma City, shout out to the Thunder, shout out to the organization. Aiden, I know you're happy, man. I know you're happy.
So happy, dude. I can't. I'm on cloud 9.
I can only imagine what it's gonna be like if they say, you see Oklahoma City win the championship, man. Like,
dude, I already made my 2 things that are gonna happen if we win the championship. Because I'm not gonna say when. I don't want to jinx anything. But like, I was looking at ticket pricing. I'm like, I'm going out there. I have to, no matter what. So depending on the ticket prices and all that, I'm going out there for either a game to watch, like maybe, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in. Just, I don't got the funds for that right now.
Right.
I want to go out there and at least enjoy the atmosphere and whatnot, whether that's in the finals or if they were to win it all for the parade. One of the 2 is going to happen. And then if they
got to get to the ring ceremony, man.
Oh, dude, I'm going to be out there for some reason as long as they win it. You can mark my word on that one. And then I want to get like a tattoo somewhere if they were to win it. I don't know. It's call me crazy, but it might be something little, but something just like this team is. I've been through everything with this team.
No, I get it, man. I get it. I have a friend. From home. His name is Trey. He's one of the biggest Thunder fans I know, man. Dude was literally on the verge of tears, man, when they just kept winning in the playoffs this year. They won last night, man. He was like, "Y'all don't understand what this means to me." Like, he hasn't seen his team in a situation like this since 2016, let alone a final since, he was in middle school.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what it's like for, Thunder fans all around like the world right now. Just excited, man. Just on the prospect.
I love it, dude.
Yeah. But we talked about the Thunder. We talked about the victors. It's time for us to talk about the losers, man. The Minnesota Timberwolves is their second straight year in the conference finals. Their second straight year leaving the conference finals without making a trip to the finals, man. Anthony Edwards, man, someone who I thought was really going to have a series, arguably played one of his. It was his worst. It was his worst series I've seen. It was his worst series I've seen, man. I'm just going to read the box score here, man. Julius Randle was their leading scorer with 24. Jaden McDaniels, 5 points. Gobert, 2 points. Conley, 0 points. Anthony Edwards, 19. And there's, off the bench, you had leading scorers Nas Reed with 11. And is that Terrence Shannon?
Yeah,
Terrence
Terrence
Shannon.
Good
Yeah.
he's been their bright spot, really.
But, yeah, Anthony Edwards, 7 for 18 from the field, 1 for 7 for 3, 4 for 6 from the line, 19 points with a plus-minus of -29. Aiden, I mean, obviously your team, benefited from this, but...
Yeah. You look at it, and OKC's done a great job defensively on guards this entire playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
But Anthony Edwards has to be better. Like, point blank, period. You got, like, you're the best player on this team. You need to play like that, and he hasn't done so. And Julius Randle had that one good game, and then one good first half in game one. To be honest, like, he hasn't done anything outside of that. Rudy Gobert has bricks his hands. He has nothing offensively. Their best players were offensively, really consistently, were Jaden McDaniels, and then in certain games it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker, then Dante DiVincenzo, Nas Reed here and there. Like, they didn't have reliable scores, and I think some of that can be credited to the OKC defense, but in other situations, like, there were times where, Minnesota had open looks. And once they started missing them, OKC was like, all right, shoot them. Like, shoot your 30-foot jump shots. We'll live with that. And I think it's a problem going forward for this Minnesota Timberwolves team because you don't have a ton of money to make moves between what Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, and Anthony Edwards are making. And then how much are you going to lean on a guy like Rob Dillingham, who's small height-wise, and like, he's not built for the NBA yet. Obviously, he has time to put on some muscle, but like, you don't have a lot of young guys on this team to really build around besides Anthony Edwards. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's going to want money. Nas Reed's going to want money, and are you going to bring him back or not? If the price is right, obviously, I think you have to. Right. But outside of that, I just think this team is limited into what and who they can really be, because we saw once they get matched up against a very good defensive team, the team kind of crumbles, and Anthony Edwards kind of crumbles a little bit, and they just aren't able to really hit that next level. I saw something earlier that said Anthony Edwards is a old person merchant or whatever it was, how he can only beat the old guys in the league, and then he got matched up against Luka last year and Shea this year.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. But no, this team, they're gonna have a busy offseason, I think. You traded Cat last year. I just don't know what moves there are to make this year, except for pay Nickeil and pay Nas Reed. But like, you got you got up and coming teams in the West that are just going to try to take that spot from you next year. And, it sucks being in the Western Conference Finals to lose in 5 games back-to-back years, because you get that sort of false hope of like, we could be good, but are you really a Western Conference Finals team? And I don't think they are there yet, even though they have been there for the past 2 years. It's tough. It's really tough to say.
The way I see it is this. I look at the Timberwolves. Obviously, you touched on it, but the trade last year with Karl-Anthony Towns, them having Randall and DiVincenzo, this year and everything like that. And during the regular season, I'm not going to lie to you, it was hit or miss with that trade. Like, when you saw it in action. Like, when it was working, it was working. But when they were off, man,
Yeah.
it was frustrating to watch. You know, especially looking at Anthony Edwards and his body language and everything like that when Randall would take up crazy shots or crazy takes or just have poor shooting nights. But again, this is their second straight season losing in the conference finals. You're looking at this roster. Not many players on this roster are probably going to be on this roster heading into next year. Conley's not going to be on this roster. I mean, I don't think Conley's going to be on this roster. And then Gobert, man, like,
no one wants him though. What team out there needs a center? Golden State and the Lakers. Gobert does not fit either of those two teams. I think he's stuck in Minnesota until his contract's up. I
said this when that Cat trade happened, but I still believe that they traded the wrong person in that deal. I still believe that Cat was not the piece that needed to go. It was definitely Rudy Gobert. Because there's no way that you're telling me you're 7 foot and you're only mustering 5 boards and only having 2 points. I mean, obviously Gobert's not a scorer, but like
it's gonna be tough. Who wants Gobert though? He doesn't do anything.
Don't know.
He really doesn't.
Don't know.
His defensive impact nowadays, it's still incredible. He's still a phenomenal defensive big, but he doesn't do anything else. He only rebounds against a team when they don't have a center like the Lakers. That's his only good game he's had all playoffs. It's unbelievable.
Yes. Actually, yes. I feel like that's the only time he's had over 25 in this playoffs.
Yeah. Over 15, probably, even maybe over 12. If we're being honest, I'm about to go check this. Rudy Gobert sucks. I'm about to check this actually.
But with Randall's performance in this playoffs, seeing how he was in the last series and seeing how he is now, like it's just like it's night and day because you don't know which version you're going to get every night. With Anthony Edwards, I feel like this series right here was a series for him to be like I said, Shea may be the face, but he can go after that MVP, but I'm going after that title. I had the chance to win it last year. I have a chance again. Let me go ahead and go get it, this year. And obviously his performance didn't show that. I believe last game he finished with abysmal shooting numbers, and to follow that up and do the same thing this game is just
it's unacceptable. And if you're the star player, you need to put that team on the back sometimes and shoot the ball 30 times, which is something he needs to know in the back of his mind that he needs to be the guy taking the shots.
I'm not gonna lie. If Anthony Edwards had 50 or 40 last night and they still lost, at least I could be like, and did everything he could. Exactly. There's no, he did everything he could. I can't put this on him. It's not his fault that he lost. Maybe it came a little too late, but it's not his fault that he lost. But to finish with 19 points in a game where it's all right, we need to win. We need to survive. That's not good, man.
All right. I got the numbers for Rudy Gobert in the playoffs so far. He had the 27-point outing against the Lakers in that closeout game where the Lakers did not start a center.
Right.
He had 17 against Golden State in their closeout game. And then he had a 13-point outing in the Game 4 loss against Oklahoma City. But besides that, his point totals so far in this playoff have been 2, 6, 1, 5, 9, 5, 9, 8, 2, 5, 7, 13, and 2.
Gosh.
Abysmal. And it's not like his defense has been...
what's his rebound totals? Is his rebound...
not much better for the 7-foot big man. His rebound high was that 24 in the
Lakers game?
The one Lakers game, yes. And then outside of that, he's only had one, or outside of that, he's only totaled 3 other double-digit rebound games as your starting center. He hasn't had double-digit reboundings at all in the Oklahoma City series, with his high being 9, and he's gone to as low as 3 in that opening game. Which is unacceptable. It's
unacceptable. It's really nothing you could really say for that, man.
It's terrible.
But it's literally, I said this too to one of my friends, but it's literally a 4-on-5. Because the way I see it is this: Obviously, Randall, McDaniels, Conley, and Anthony Edwards, they're going to do their thing. Everyone's going to game plan for that. No one is game planning for Gobert.
You don't need to.
No one is game planning for Gobert. Hartenstein's not even 7 foot. Hartenstein's like, what, 6'11"? Hartenstein is...
Yeah, Hartenstein's just at 7 foot. But...
his gravity on the floor, like, he's going...
That's part of the reason why Hartenstein hasn't had to have his best series or really be on the floor too much in this series because Gobert sucks. Like, they don't need to... And if OKC runs smaller, then that forces Gobert to just, like, even worse on both ends of the floor. And then you just play him off the court, and then just like that, you got a guy who's in the starting lineup off the court. So OKC quite literally played him off the court, and Gobert's also just bad to where he shouldn't have been out there to begin with. But
yeah, but looking at it from like the Timberwolves' perspective, man, again, it's another season. Like you said, to your credit, the West is only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the West is only going to get better. Teams that weren't in the playoffs this year or in the picture this year are going to be...
Are going to be...
Yeah. It's especially... We're going to touch on Giannis in a few. Because, I'm not going to lie, if the Spurs end up making a play and getting Giannis, Wemby, and Chris Paul, and De'Aaron Fox, like, they'll
make that. They can make that move.
They definitely can. They have the capital for it. And Pop has a lot of pull, too, so he could definitely make something work, for sure. But, you know, for a Western Conference that's going to continue to get better, get more competitive, I just don't know how many more years the Timberwolves have of just scraping by, you know, and getting to the conference finals. Like, this city is starving for a championship. Mind you, this city I don't think Minnesota has won a title yet. They have not won a championship yet. The peak that they have gone is literally making it to the conference finals. Since Kevin Garnett, the furthest they have made in the playoffs was the conference finals. They have not won a championship yet. So I just don't know how many more years you have of just having teams that are just good enough and not great enough to, you know, do what they need to do in the playoffs, man.
I mean, like, if I was a Timberwolves fan, I'd be happy, but at the same time, I'd be pissed because it's like, why are we doing all this to give me that false hope? But,
right. Honestly, if I was a Timberwolves fan, after last season, I would have been like, oh, we're going to be nice next year. Like, dope. Like, I'll be excited. After this season, how everything played out this year, I'll be sick. Like, I would be like...
I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed looking back on what could have been. And I think the only good thing that comes out of it is playoff experience for Ant and for, like, Nikhil and whatnot. But it's like, how much is that really going to matter when you can't fully get to that next step?
Because I'm telling you, the Timberwolves are a good team, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Timberwolves are going to be a playoff mainstay for years to come, yes. But when I mean mainstay, a mainstay can easily be a 6 seed, a 7 seed, a play-in team. This team made it to the Western Conference Finals, and let's face it, a down year for the Western Conference. The Western Conference was competitive, but let's face it, outside of OKC, outside of maybe Denver, it was wide open.
There's so many good teams that everyone had a chance.
Yes, everyone had a chance. And after you guys beat the Lakers, everybody was like, hold up. Like, you know, you guys have an opportunity here. And after you guys beat Golden State, it's like, you guys have an opportunity here.
Yep.
And I feel like this is another wasted year because, again, like you said, to your credit, you give your fans, you give the fan base a sense of hope that you guys are going to, you know, go over the hill. But you guys continue to just fall right before you get to the top. And then with getting players like Randall and DiVincenzo, man, like I said before, like it's night and day. I just don't... Like, I saw a graphic last night on, you know, ESPN when I was watching the game. It was like, I think it was like about to be halftime or something. Randall at that point in time was shooting like 1 for 5 from the field, and Anthony Edwards was shooting 3 for 10.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, they had like 13 combined points or something like that.
You can't do that in a closeout game.
Uh-uh.
At all. You cannot do that in a closeout game, man. So, again...
Realistically, if Minnesota could have won, I know it's a big if, but if they could have won last night, you bring that momentum back home.
I'm saying.
And then it's like, all right, suddenly it's like, all right, if you win that, you put a lot of pressure on OKC to win a game. Like, you can never count a team out until the series is over. And you can kind of say the same about New York tonight.
Yeah.
They're in a very similar boat.
Nah.
You don't think so? I mean, if New York, look, you have to look at it that like this hasn't been a one-sided series at all.
That is true. This series,
it's been very close every single game. In every game, either team could have won.
That is true.
Counting the last few minutes of the game.
If game one ended differently, this is a whole different series.
Game one ended different. It would have been 1-0 Knicks. Let's just say Knicks won first game. It'd be a 2-2 series right now.
Yeah.
Heading back to the Garden.
Yeah, for game 5.
I think New York goes out. If they could win it tonight, you put a little bit of pressure on Indy. You're like, all right, this is your chance. You have to win game 6. Or if they lose, I think so much momentum would be heading back to New York for a game 7. And that would be
a game 7 in New York. That would be similar. That would be similar. But before we even like touch on the Knicks Pacers series some more, any last words about the Timberwolves, man? Any last words about their season?
You know what? It's you can't say a team that made the conference finals is a disappointment, but I think the way they executed in the conference finals was disappointing. And it's going to be super interesting to see what moves they make over the offseason, how or if they extend Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid. And then it's going to be super interesting as well to see how impactful guys like Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. are going to be next season, because they are going to be super important, especially with Mike Conley kind of getting up and out of there more than likely, whether that's to another team or just to age or not being playable, to be fair. So, Minnesota, I'm sorry. We had to do it to you.
I'm sorry.
But I still like Ant.
Yeah. I for me, my last words on the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards going to bounce back from this for sure. He said in the postgame yesterday that he's going to, no one's going to work as hard as he is this offseason. I firmly believe it. Anthony Edwards, in his young career, has proven to be a playoff riser. And I feel like him having a down series, it's all part of it. Every great has had a series to forget in the playoffs. Every great has had a series in which many people have questioned whether or not they are good or whether or not they have the ability to show up in big moments. So I feel like he's going to learn from it and just, carry that into next year as added fuel. As far as Gobert, though, as far as everybody else, it's like,
I'm out of here.
Yeah, no, man. there needs to be some active hands in the front office. There needs to be some deals, because
terrible contract.
I'm not going to lie to you. The more and more I think of this Timberwolves team, and I think of Anthony Edwards, man. Anthony Edwards is probably having his best seasons, and it's safe to say he's not even in his prime yet.
He's going to keep getting better.
He's going to keep getting better. You talk about how the Thunder were the worst they were going to be, this year. It's probably the worst they're going to be. Same thing for Ant. Ant's, if I'm not mistaken, let me check his.
He's 23 years old.
Anthony Edwards is hold on. Yeah, he's 23 years old. He has ample time. But the key for this Timberwolves team now is that they're going to need to find a way to maximize this guy, because I'm telling you, if the Timberwolves at 28 are still doing what they're doing now with Ant when he's 23, other teams are going to be giving Ant a call.
Yeah.
And best believe, if he goes to any other team, that's a championship team right there. So, as far as the Timberwolves, man, it sucks that you guys are in the finals, but it's like, you guys did it to yourselves. Hopefully you guys can bounce back next year. I don't think you will be back at this position next year, but we'll see.
We'll see. You have to see.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
But NBA can change like that.
For sure. Things can change. I mean, look at the Grizzlies, man. Grizzlies 2 years ago were a top 3 seed in the West.
Yeah.
The year after that,
Look at
Nope.
Dallas. Look at
Dallas.
from
Yeah, look
NBA
at Dallas.
Finals to no Luka, and now you have Cooper Flag.
We're gonna talk about that too. We're gonna talk about that too because I wanted to ask you about that too. But before we go any further, I just want to say, episode again is sponsored by Legacy Jersey Shop, one-stop shop, every affordable, cheap soccer jersey. I got my Vinicius jersey from Legacy Jersey Shop, so make sure you guys go check out Legacy Jersey Shop and YBPod.com. But moving on. We talked about the OKC Thunder. We talked about the Timberwolves Western Finals. Time for us to talk about probably one of the most entertaining series that I've seen in a minute in the East. And that's saying something because the East has been, for the past couple of years, doo-doo. But Knicks, Pacers, man. Game 5 tonight in Madison Square Garden. Pacers up 3-1 after Halliburton puts up 32, 15, and I believe 14 on no turnovers.
So good.
How are we feeling about tonight's game, man? How are we feeling about tonight's game?
I think it's do or obviously.
Yeah.
Do or die for the Knicks. And the Pacers have a little bit of leeway. They're 2 games ahead, but they don't want to get comfortable. You still have to win a game. But this series is a lot in my opinion, I think this series is a lot closer and it's far from over. I genuinely the Knicks are favored to win tonight. And I do think that the Knicks will win tonight. If Karl Anthony Towns does play, that is, because I know he is dealing with that banged up knee.
Yeah, him and Neesmith are a game time decision.
Yep. So Karl Anthony Towns needs to play tonight if the Knicks want to win it. But both of these teams are very similarly different, where no lead is ever safe against either one of these teams, where we've seen Indiana have miraculous comebacks in every single series so far in this playoffs.
Seriously.
And then and you could say the same about New York in that Boston series, literally having identical comebacks and stealing games 1 and 2 against Boston in TD Garden. It's not over at all, I don't think. Because Jalen Brunson is the best player. I think Tyrese Halliburton has been the better player in these playoffs, but Jalen Brunson is still the better player. He still is the clutch player of the year. He still has great pieces around him. OG Anunoby has shown glimpses of him just being one of the best players on the court. Mitchell Robinson has been very good.
He's
for
been
you
a
guys.
godsend in this series.
It's going to be another fun game tonight, I feel like. And New York knows all the pressure's on them, backs against the wall. You have nothing to lose tonight. I need to see Tibbs be Tibbs and play Jalen Brunson for 45 minutes tonight. Like, Mikal Bridges shouldn't touch the bench tonight. Like, your season's on the line. One of the biggest games of the year for them. One of the biggest games of a lot of these guys' careers tonight.
No, seriously.
This may be their best chance at getting to the NBA Finals. You can never guarantee yourself to be in this position again. That's why you got to take advantage of every single moment. And it again, like, I know this series score is 3-1 in Indianapolis's favor, but hey, man, I've seen crazier happen.
Yeah,
and this series still feels open. Like it feels open to me. I could be wrong, and Indiana could just be the better team tonight and pull through and book their trip to OKC a week from now. But it's going to be important for both teams, I think, to just play their best brand of basketball. And like I said about how Minnesota could, if they would have won last night, then they bring that momentum back into, their home crowd. Like if the Knicks can win tonight, make it a 3-2 series, I think it's win-win. As a viewer, I think it's win-win because you either see Indiana win on their home turf, you get the celebration with the crowd and all that whatnot. But if they lose, you get the best 2 words in sports.
Game 7 in New York with the finals chip on the line.
Yeah, man.
What?
That's part of the reason why I also want New York to win tonight.
I'm saying,
entertainment-wise, we get the best of both worlds. So.
I'm saying. The way I look at it is this, man. Last year, these two teams met in the semis last year to get to the conference finals. And the whole argument last year, after the Pacers won, was that the Knicks weren't healthy, Knicks were dealing with injuries, Knicks were banged up, everything like that. There is no excuse this year. There is no excuse at all this year. You look at game 1. That was a game the Knicks let slip away. Easily. Let
Credit
that game.
Indiana, though.
Credit
But
to Indiana. Shout out to Aaron
New York
Neesmith.
cannot lose that at all.
Shout out to Aaron Neesmith. He probably cashed a lot of people's parlays out that night. Most definitely. But they let that game slip away completely. Game 2. Siakam. Like the Pascal Siakam game.
Siakam game.
40 points. That's unheard of. Game 3. You guys, win that game. Cool. 2-1.
Shout out Karl Anthony Towns.
Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns. But if we're really looking at it, this series could most definitely have been over by now. If the game 3 didn't happen, this series would have been wrapped up in a bow.
Oh yeah.
After Monday. But the way I'm looking at it is this, man. You say that it's a wide open series. I definitely agree. But it really comes down to two things. It comes down to Tom Thibodeau's rotations tonight. Mm-hmm. Because again, that's a huge important thing. It also comes down to who's showing up for the Knicks tonight.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson arguably had one of his worst games in the series in his last game. I believe there was a stat that said he went, I think, over 3 in the fourth. He did not shoot well in the fourth at all.
And I think one of the X factors going into this game is Indiana's fast. They are extremely fast. They're going to speed your team up. If New York can lay that first punch and force Indiana to just play half-court offense, which they've been good in, but they haven't been great, and they've been winning these games because they've been great in speeding the game up, getting out in transition, and that's just where they eat. So I think it's going to be super important for New York to lay that first punch and slow this Pacers team down, and play physical, man.
They cannot let TJ
play physical. Send guys at Halliburton, make him feel a body on it. It feels like he's able to just run to his spot, not make a move, but literally just sprint to his spot, make one move, and it's you got to play physical, and you got to slow this Pacers team down, or else it could get ugly. Your season could be over early.
They cannot let TJ McConnell have another one of those games where
TJ McConnell, man,
where he's coming off the bench
and
giving people 15, 13 points. Seriously, if the Knicks want to win this game, they need to make sure that they're firing on all cylinders. They need to make sure they have great offensive sets. They need to make sure they're stopping Halliburton. They need to make sure they're stopping people who are affected by Halliburton. They need to make sure they contain Siakam. There's so many different things that the Knicks need to check off tonight on that checklist to ensure that this series at least sees a 6th game.
And Josh Hart last night or 2 games ago or 2 days ago. He had one of the worst performances I've ever seen. He's not hustling he's not doing anything that Josh Hart is doing. And when he doesn't have that offensive ability to put the ball on the ground, or if he's sitting in the corner and it's getting good luck, you got to provide something to this team. And he was terrible. He wasn't getting rebound. He couldn't do anything. And there was a time in that third quarter where 3 possessions in 6 or so, in a 4 or 5 minute period, he had 3 stupid passes that he was just trying to force inside.
Home run plays, yeah.
And I'm like, come on, because that just leads to just. And then there was another play in this game where Deuce McBride had a wide open 3 on the right wing that he missed with 8 seconds left in the quarter, and then Indy gets the ball and just throws it up court, and Obi Toppin had an and. I'm like, that's a 6-point swing that easily you got to ride that momentum, and they just can't allow those home run plays like you just mentioned.
They can't.
It just
and also to your credit, OG Anunoby has to show up tonight, man.
Mm-hmm. Everyone in that starting line needs to play.
But more specifically, OG, because OG, to me, I talked about Julius Randle being night and day. OG has been night and day as well in this playoff. There's been games where OG has hooped his butt off, 20 points, 25, but there's also been games such as game 1 where OG was like stagnant, like nowhere to be found, missing layups, missing dunks, turning the ball over, missing shots. So it's important for, again, it's a group effort tonight, but I feel like he's going to be the X factor tonight. If he has a good game, the Knicks don't lose this game. But if he has a game where he's shooting 1 for 6, he only has 6 points through 3 quarters, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem because I'm telling you, the Pacers are not coming into the Garden tonight looking to, let's just close out in Indiana. They're getting this series over tonight. They're trying to get this done tonight. They're trying to start game playing for OKC and everything. They're not trying to extend the series out. So if the Knicks come out slow and the Pacers come out fast, there's no way the Knicks are getting back into this game.
I agree. Yeah, you need tonight's key for both teams. If you're Indy, you just want to. To me, I think it's whoever lays that first punch and can just control the tempo of this game. If you're Indy, you want to hold, you don't want to extend this series. You just want to get it over with. Obviously, they have 3 chances to win 1 game, but you don't want to give anyone momentum.
Not at all.
And then Cat, let's see how bad that knee injury. I mean, he was favoring that knee heavily.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how physical he can be and how mobile he could be. But I anticipate he will play. I mean, I don't see a world where your second best player and a guy like Karl Anthony Towns doesn't play in an elimination game. It's the same with Aaron Gordon. He may not be obviously as injured as Aaron Gordon, but you're playing in this game. Same with Jamal Murray. Illness, he's gonna play in an elimination game. It's just there's no other option, I don't think.
Right. Especially with your season on the line.
Season on the line, you cannot sit one out for knee contusion or whatever they're listing. It's just you have to play through it.
But yeah, it's going to be a real interesting game tonight. It's definitely going to be interesting. If the Pacers can go in and get another win in the Garden, I feel like that would just say a lot about.
New York has it though. I think they win tonight.
You got New York winning tonight? You got a score prediction?
Winning tonight. Yeah.
You got a score prediction?
I mean, both teams' offenses have been unreal. So it's going to be more of a high score. I'll go a 122, 115.
All right. I'll take Indiana tonight, man. I've had Indiana for the whole series. They're closing it out.
I think Indiana wins this. I had them winning this series going into it. But I do think New York extends it a little tonight.
I think Indiana's going to win tonight 125, 121. The Knicks are going to start off. The Knicks are going to start off hot. Pace is going to cool them off a little bit. And then I feel like fourth quarter comes around. Pace is going to start to pull away. And the Knicks going to try to do some little last second, comeback, save from grace type thing. But
kind of like what they did last game.
Exactly. Which also, too, that leads me to my next point. For the Knicks, it's okay to play with the lead, man. It's okay to do that. You guys do not have to put yourself in situations where you have to do some sort of large 20-point comeback or anything like that.
I'm tired of both of these teams.
It's perfectly fine having the lead and just building on that, man.
Yeah. I'm tired of these teams. I mean, entertainment-wise, it makes it fun. But, finish these damn games off, man. It's what are you doing? You're giving them hope. And then we've seen it happen far too many times where Indiana was up in that game 3 where they were up 15 in the first half. Then they just took their foot off the gas.
If I'm not mistaken, weren't they up by 20, 25 at one point? In game 3?
I don't think it got that high. But I could check, actually. But, still, it's you have your foot. All these teams just need to, if you have your foot on the gas, don't let up.
Just leave it there. That's it.
Yeah, they were up by 20 at one point.
Yeah. Because I remember I was like, oh, this series is over. It's done.
Yeah, I was fully convinced it was done. I mean, you're down 20 points, but at the same time, these teams got to just play basketball. Don't let, and it feels like they just do stupid stuff sometimes, too.
They do.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's
not just those two teams, but just in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting, man, whoever really comes out of this series, because either way, that's going to make for a good finals. I mean, obviously, Indiana, red hot, and then the Knicks, it's that's big market.
And if the Knicks were to make it, they'd be riding a lot of momentum, and they'd be staying hot going into a series where they would probably only have, because what's that, Thursday? They would play tonight, then they would play Saturday, then they'd play with one game in between going into the finals, which would be next Thursday. So if the Knicks were to win, they'd continue that one game rest. So they'd be hot. They'd be tired, but they'd be hot going into OKC.
Most definitely. But game 8:00 tonight. I know I'm gonna be tuned in watching it. I'm definitely gonna be tuned in watching it, man. I know a lot of Knicks fans, so I'm just gonna be right by the phone, just waiting to see. If
I love doing it.
Yeah, I just gotta put the thank you fans, post out and everything like that. But it's definitely gonna be good basketball on display tonight. For sure. But before we go, obviously the draft lottery happened a couple weeks back. Obviously, I gave my 2 cents on it. But since we got you here, man, how do you feel about the Mavericks? Obviously, with the Luka trade and everything, how do you feel about them winning the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, man? How do you feel about that?
Obviously, it helps them tremendously. I mean, you're getting a guy like Cooper Flag, Nico Harrison. Don't make a mistake. Draft Cooper Flag. Don't mess it up again.
Right.
No, he'll. I think it's an amazing fit, especially alongside a guy like AD, where, I mean, Cooper Flag's probably going to play the 3 there, because we know AD doesn't like playing big and being that center, and Cooper Flag, he could play really any position. And then once Kyrie comes back midway through the next season or at the end of the season or whatever it may be for his timeline, I mean, that team's dangerous, man. Yeah. And Dallas has always been a larger, smaller market where they could get free agents to go there. And they have a good team. Like, I was afraid. No, I wouldn't say afraid, but like even before Cooper Flag, when they had AD and Kyrie healthy, like that's a good team. You still got PJ Washington. You got guys like Klay Thompson. I know he's older, but you have guys on that team that can still make a very good impact on basketball. Right. And I think Jason Kidd is a very well-respected coach in the NBA. So I think Cooper Flag is going to fit tremendously. It is a little bit like, the way they got the pick feels a little bit like Adam Silver.
That's what I was alluding to.
I one of the things that I did see, which makes a little bit of sense, is the whole keep the Lakers as a big market team. So to force Luka to the biggest market in basketball, which is the LA Lakers, and then in return, the Mavericks get Cooper Flag, like somehow make it work. And obviously it's like the NBA wouldn't plant a Kyrie Irving like Achilles injury or AD. Like they wouldn't do all.
But it does seem.
But it just seemed a little bit like.
Seemed a little bit, under the table.
And this, I mean, hell, even the Spurs just jumped up miraculously to number 2, and they're going to get themselves Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey, which is insane if they were to draft Dylan Harper as next to Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, and you still got Wemby there. Like, that team's going to be good. That's if they do keep the pick, because I think, this Giannis meeting has taken forever. We were expected to hear the news 8 days ago whether or not he wanted to stay or request a so like who even knows what's going on up there. But
I still think Giannis is leaving.
If you look at it, if you look at a team where it makes the most sense for both sides, where if you're San Antonio, you're getting a top 5 player in the league in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you're immediately in the talks for title contention. And then on the other hand, the Milwaukee Bucks are only going to make a deal dealing out Giannis Antetokounmpo if they get immediate assets. And you could get that in the number 2 overall pick. You'll get Stephon Castle in that trade. You'll get first-round picks, and then you'll get salary. Like, you're getting 2 guaranteed. You're getting a Rookie of the Year, and then you're getting another top 2 pick. So no matter what, you're getting something, which is important. Kyle Schwarber just hit a... Never mind. It was on the warning track. But one of the things that's going to be real interesting in this Milwaukee trade is Giannis isn't going to want to go somewhere where they're going to have to tear up their whole core just to trade for him, because then at that point, you might as well just stay in Milwaukee. But at the same time, like,
he wants to win.
He wants to win, and you're gonna have to give up a lot for him.
Yeah.
And there's really only a handful of teams in this league that have the assets to trade for him, and you're gonna have to trade 5 to 7 first-round picks for Giannis. It's like you're not gonna get a Luka Doncic-esque deal because I think that was just an anomaly.
Yeah,
like, it's gonna be another massive trade where, I mean, if Mikal Bridges is getting you 5 first-round picks, Giannis is going to get the whole – he's going to get the whole – he's going to get everything on top of good players, on top of young players. Like, it's going to be hard to pull off, but at the end of the day, you can't blow your team. Like, you can't gut your whole roster just to bring in Giannis to put next to one guy, then you don't have anyone else around him.
Yeah.
So that's why San Antonio could be a very good fit because you'd still have Fox alongside Wemby alongside Giannis, and then you just fill in the rest of that team. And I'm sure there are going to be some more veteran-led guys who are going to want to play next to some 3 all-stars in this league and immediately contend if that means you take a little bit of a salary cut.
Right, and just piggybacking on the Cooper Flag thing first, the one thing, obviously, friend of the show, Jalen. Not Jaden, Jalen. Shout out to Jalen. But friend of the show, he was talking about how, remember, his team is the Wizards.
Yeah.
And whole season, he was like, we're tanking for Coop, about to get Flag. Flag's about to be half stand in D.C., everything like that, yada, yada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the lottery happens. Obviously, he sees the team in the top 3. And he was angry, as one should be. Because for me, I feel that, and I said this in that episode as well when I talked about the draft lottery, but I said that teams that are losing, obviously, or that are, bottom of the barrel teams, should be teams that are rewarded when it comes time for the lottery to take place. That, I could have sworn that was always the thing. I mean, obviously, trades happen. Obviously, picks get, switched up and everything like that. I understand that. But no way, shape, or form should a team that amassed over 20 wins, 25 wins with a playing team should be a top pick in the draft.
Same with last year. I know it was Risachet, who's not a top recruit prospect. Like, I know he's not the flashy guy or whatnot, but even Atlanta jumped up all the way like this last year. Then this year we have 2 teams jump up again. It's because you feel bad for the Utahs, the Washingtons. I mean, I know Charlotte doesn't have the best situation, but they're still they're at 4. Like, a lot of these teams are you got to feel bad for them at some point. Looking into years past, the Pistons jumped up once to 4, and then many other times dropped all the way back from 1 to 5. It's some of these teams definitely wish they could go back to the old rule where the worst team in the league had a 25% chance, and now it just feels open, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, if you are a Washington, you need to capitalize on wherever your pick is. Just because you didn't land 1, 2, or 3 and get one of those main 3 guys, you still need to draft well, because look at teams like OKC, for instance. They're in the finals now because they drafted well. Yes, they had Chet Holmgren at 2, but you drafted your All-NBA player in J-Dub at 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then, look around the league. Franz Wagner, for Orlando. Not every single best player comes at the number 1 overall pick. You need to hit on these filler years, because let's say in 2-3 years from now, Washington jumps up and they are able to get number 1 overall pick, whoever it may be. You need to have pieces around those guys and develop them into NBA players, or else number 1 overall pick so-and-so is not going to be ready for another 3 years down the line. And then at that point, you're just going to be stuck in this continuous cycle of mediocrity. So you need to make sure you hit on those middle range picks. That's why scouting's so important.
Yeah. And touching on the Wizards real quick, as someone who went to a Wizards game this season against the Jazz, which tough watch.
Man.
It was a tough watch. It was a tough watch. It was cheap though. It was a tough watch. It was no spring break, chill. But I will say, their young core that they have right now,
I don't mind it.
Yeah, they're brewing something in DC.
They 100% are.
And I feel that, yes, them not getting the 1 pick this year, it sucks. Yes, them not getting Cooper Flag, that's going to, set them a little bit back as far as their progress with trying to get back to being, a team that's winning, meaningful games in April and everything like that. But for what it's worth, whoever they pick up at that 6th spot, they're going to be just fine. I feel like the Wizards, they're going to continue to rebuild. They're going to continue to plug guys into their, roster and team fit, and I feel like it's going to help out. It's literally the way that the Wizards are right now. It reminds me low-key a little bit with the Nationals. Nationals obviously are having the same issue with rebuilding. Obviously, they won the World Series in 2019, won a championship.
Yep.
They lost Soto and everything like that because, Soto wanted to go. Harper and everything left. It's a whole completely, new team they have now. They have young stars in C.J. Abrams and James Wood and everything like that who are starting to become the cornerstone of this team. Yes, they're not competing for a championship this year. They're not competing for a playoff spot this year. But they're starting to get more of an identity and do things to help them out where we're looking at them 2 years from now. That's a whole scary different team in DC.
Absolutely.
I feel like the Wizards are truly a couple of pieces away from being back to being a playoff team. Truly.
And it's one step at a time. Like, you get that, you capitalize this year, and you may not be bottom of the lottery, even if you could be at play in contention. And then next year you're in that playing game, and then after that you start to have these guys that gel together, and then all of a sudden you're the 7-8 seed, and it's like you grow. You just have to continue to grow because you never want to be stuck in that. You never want to be stuck in that middle, we're a play-in kind of team, and then year to year you're always stuck with the 13th pick, and then you never want that. So you always have to have a direction, and I think Washington is slowly finding where they need to be, and as long as they hit on their draft picks and continue to develop these guys, I think they're a step in the right direction.
For sure, man. For sure. But only time will tell, really. Only time will tell. But that's going to do it, man, for this episode. This was a action-packed episode, fun episode to say the least, man.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden, thank you again for coming on to the show. Tell everybody where they can reach you at, man. Tell everybody where they can reach you at on Instagram and everything.
Yeah, thank you, DInari, obviously, for having me on the show. You can find me on Instagram at Zeals Films. I do a lot of freelance photography, videography, whatnot. And I enjoy being on the show, so anytime you need another guest, I'm always happy to join.
We're definitely going to have you as the OKC correspondent for the finals and everything like that, for sure.
There we go, dude.
We're definitely going to try to have you on for, stuff for the finals, for sure.
Good.
But, as always, thank you again, guys, for tuning into Young Bulls Podcast today. Go Pacers tonight, man. Shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, man. Shout out to him. Go Pacers tonight. Close out the series. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Again, the episode is sponsored by Legacy Jersey Shops and YBPod.com. We'll catch you guys next week for sure for the finals preview. And with all that being said, peace, man. Peace.
Peace.